build an organization. I mean, when he realized the concept that he would build his own company, I mean, he was still working for other people. He had his own agency. What do? You guys make good money? And the guy said, this is such an amazing profession, especially for a young girl. We make good money, and this is a crazy story.
Focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
So welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and of course, I'm your host. This is episode number 55. Wow. And do we have the guests of all guests? Couldn't be more excited, couldn't be more fired up. I mean, check out this bio, man. I mean, just check this out for a quick second. We're talking about Patti Schecter here, okay? Super mother, amazing wife, incredible business person. Her and her husband, Dennis, started in business in 1981. Check this out. In 1984, they became senior national sales directors with the company, which is the highest level you can get to. In 1998, they became the $15 million earners in the company. They were inducted into the prestigious Wall of Fame. I mean, today, Patti Schecter has 16,000, listen to me, 16,000 agents. Not only that, not only have they been hugely successful, but they have $9 million earners in their organization. They're the 10th highest earners in an organization of 130,000 people. Check that out, right? That's pretty incredible. And not, certainly last but not least, she's the highest paid woman in the entire company today. And of course, she's a world traveler. I love Patti Schecter, one of my favorite people in all the world. Patti, tell me, man, really, let's just kick this thing off. Tell me what it feels like to have total freedom of time and money.
Well, Daniel, I'm a girl from Paterson, New Jersey. And if you've ever been to Paterson, New Jersey, it's a great place to be from. And I'm just a regular girl. My dad was a welder. I grew up very middle class, and I think to myself, where would my life be without Primerica? Here I am living the life of a rock star. I wake up in the morning, and honest to God, I know this sounds corny, but I just wake up in the morning and I pinch myself. I'm like, how is this even possible? I'm so grateful, on my knees, thanking God all the time, because if not for Primerica, what? I'm not saying I would be destitute, but to think that my life is like this, we just bought a condo in Florida last year, $4 million condo. It is my paradise. It is my happy place. I'm so happy with it. We still have our beautiful 30-acre farm in New Jersey, and we get to do whatever we want. Every single day of my life is like, what do I want to do today? There's not a store I can't walk into and buy anything I want. We just bought a beautiful new motorboat. We travel. Travel is my passion. I'm trying to get to the 100 country club. So we're trying to get to 100 countries before I die. And we just returned from Poland 5 days ago. That was number 70. So I'm on my way. Next month, we go on a Viking River cruise through Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, a couple more that I have never been to, so I'll add another 5. And then we're spending the entire month of October in Vietnam, including 2 different yacht cruises while we're there. And the way I travel is ridiculous. We travel with a company called A&K. I don't travel with groups. That's the thing. It's just my husband and myself and a driver and a guide. And they pick you up the second you walk off that plane. They are there. They take you through customs that you don't have to think. You just enjoy. And, each one of these trips is over $100,000 every time I go on one of these crazy trips. And to think that we can travel like that and experience the cultures of the world and life through different people's eyes and just have that amazing experience. We go on safaris. Every couple of years we go on a safari because that's my favorite trip to take. And that's when I feel closest to God, out there in the middle of Africa with these amazing animals. And these experiences are things that you read about in National Geographic, not things that Patti Schecter from Paterson, New Jersey ever thought she was going to experience, you know? But I think that is maybe the key right there. My dad, I give him all the credit all the time. My dad was, like I said, just a welder. He was born in 1918 to immigrant Italian family. He was so proud of his Italian ancestry, but also proud of the fact that he was the first person in his family born in America, right? And even though he had to quit high school when they went through the Depression, he went through the whole, World War II and that whole thing. You would think a guy like this, no education, from immigrant parents, being a welder in Paterson, New Jersey, not educated at all, but God, he just had a different outlook on life than most people in his position didn't. And he thought out of the box. And I was an only child, so we would sit at dinner at night. And my dad, in the 1940s, subscribed, when National Geographic, the magazine, first came out, he subscribed to it. And he would read it cover to cover. And I would read it cover to cover. And being an only child, we'd sit down at night. And my mom was kind of an introvert. Obviously, I don't take after her. And she would serve us dinner. And then my dad and I would sit there, and our discussion would be, hey, did you read that article in the National Geographic? Did you see that? And he'd say to me, honey, go there. Don't get married too young. Make sure you travel. Get out of here. Get out of New Jersey. There's so much in the world to experience. So
Patti,
he put that in my mind.
Patti, so when you were a kid, so you basically, as a young kid, you were way advanced because you were already
because of my dad.
Big, because of your dad.
Yeah, my alarm's going. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said, I give him all the credit because I don't think anybody else's mom and dad on East 17th Street in Paterson, New Jersey, was telling them to get out of the box and go travel the world. People didn't do that. People were happy with him. We were happy, but my father incorporated that zest for life, that curiosity thing in me. And like I said, since I'm a young girl, I remember I went to Expo 67. Now, I don't know if any of your listeners can relate to any of this because I'm like ancient, right? And this is before their parents were born. But I was a Girl Scout, and we went to Expo 67 in Montreal, which is like the first time in my life I ever went anywhere. We went on a bus, right, from New Jersey to Canada. And it was like a World's Fair thing. And I remember distinctly when you got there, they gave you like a fake passport. It was almost like Epcot. And they had like different like countries, and you had to go to the countries and get a stamp. Like nobody else really cared about that. I was on a mission to get every stamp in that book. And like that, I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to get a real passport one day and I'm going to go. And I was so blessed in life. I don't believe anything happens by accident. I really don't. I believe everything happens with a reason and with a purpose. And I went to college. There was no doubt ever that I wasn't going to go to college. And I went to college for a year and a half, and I hated it, and I dropped out of it. And my father was like seriously suicidal that his daughter was not going to. And I just got a job at a retail store.
Patti, can I just ask you real quick, why did you hate college? Like, what was it about?
It was so boring. Like, I just was sitting in this room. I'm like, I got to go do stuff. Like, what am I doing in here? I was a biology major, and I kept thinking, well, what am I going to do with this once I get out? Sit in a lab? I'm like, no. So just like by coincidence, but like I said, no coincidence, here I am working in a retail store, and my dad gets called to my father was so influential in every single aspect of my life. He gets called to jury duty, and he goes to the jury duty, and he sees the court reporter. It was a guy, now the court reporter is the person who sits in front of the courtroom and takes everything down on that machine. And he starts talking to the guy. Now this is back in like 1973. And the guy, he says, what is this? What do you do? You guys make good money? And the guy said, this is such an amazing profession, especially for a young girl. We make good money. They're part of the judiciary of the state. You become a state employee. You get all the state benefits. He said, and plus she'll marry a lawyer. Ding, 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 right? So my father comes home and he sells me on this be a court reporter. And I'm like, what the hell is a court reporter? So just to placate my father, I opened up the phone book. I looked up court reporting schools, found one, Hackensack, New Jersey. Went and found out about it, and I thought, okay, this could be good for me. I love words. I have not the math gene. Can't add, can't do it check, but I got the word gene. I'm always good crosswords, New York Times and pen. Hello. So I thought, this is good for me. And it's interesting because every day it's a different story, right? You go to court, you hear a murder, you hear this, you hear that. This is good. And you're up on the front sitting on the stage. I've always been like a performer, right? So I got involved in it, and I was the fastest graduate of the school. I got out. It's like a 2-year course. I got out in like 14 months, and once again, fortuitous, just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Went on like a per diem job to a certain courthouse where they needed an official. An official is like a permanent person. Asked me if I wanted the job. Got the job. So now here I am in 1978. I've been there since 75, working as a court reporter at the Morris County Courthouse. And it was a Monday morning, June 19th, 1978. I opened the door. I didn't want to go to this courtroom. It's crazy. This is a whole other story. I didn't like the judge that I had been assigned to that morning. And there was another court reporter, Joanne, and she liked that judge. And she used to say to me, oh, if you ever get assigned to that judge, I'll switch judges with you. So here I am. I'm about to open the door, and I see Joanne walking down. I go, Joanne, switch judges with me today. Oh, I don't want it today. I like the case. Dan, I begged her. I promised her lunch for the rest of I just did not want to work with it. It was something I didn't want to go in that courtroom, and she would not. Now just think of it. If she had switched with me, I would not be sitting here today, because I opened the door, and standing in a navy blue pinstripe power suit was this good looking, much older than I, blonde guy with blue eyes. And I swear to God, it wasn't like I looked at him and thought. It was like an outside message got telegraphed in my head. You're going to marry him. And that's how I met Dennis. And I sat down. There was like an immediate connection, fireworks. As a matter of fact, the court clerk who was sitting behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said, I feel, what was it? Magic in the air.
Wow.
It was like palpable. He came up to me. I was so excited. I was like, oh, what am I wearing tomorrow? I'm already thinking, and it was over in 20 minutes. He won the case. He was a litigant. Although Dennis had gone to law school, he never became an actual lawyer, but he was, he could have been. And he was there because he owned an insurance company, as some people know. He already had an insurance agency. He was 40 at the time. I was 24. We were 16 years apart. And he came over to me, because I was like, so depressed, but like the case is over, he's leaving. Oh no. Came over to me, he said, you want to go get a cup of coffee? I said, sure. I wasn't supposed to get up and walk out. I had another case coming in. I didn't care. I was going for coffee with this guy. We went for a quick cup of coffee. We made a date. We went out on a date. We dated hot and heavy for like 3 weeks. All of a sudden I never hear from him. Like literally like every night for 3 weeks. And then, so I said to myself, well, it's been really hot and heavy. He needs a break. That's fine. A day goes by, 2 days goes by. I start calling the office. I start getting put on hold. I'm like, what in the world is going on? I don't hear from him for 3 months. I'm like devastated, right? All of a sudden, out of the blue, one day I get a phone call. You want to go for a lobster? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm thinking I got to find out what's going on, right? And we sat down. He said, I owe you an apology, but let me explain. He said, he had been married before. He had gone through a terrible divorce. And he had a girlfriend in the interim, and now he meets me, and he said, I found myself falling madly in love with you, but you're too young. I'm not ready for another relationship, so I just had to cold turkey it, and that wasn't fair to you, but it was the only way I could deal with it. He said, but I have thought of you every minute of every day for the past 3 months. I can't live without you. And that was it. I moved in with him the next day, and we got married the next year or so.
Get out of here.
Right. Yeah.
What an amazing story.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And the other part of it that's really pretty amazing is when I met him, because he was older and he had 2 other children, he said to me, one of the problems was, he said, you're only 24 and I don't ever want to have children. And I was okay with that. I was an only child. I was never really around a lot of kids. I really wasn't a kid person. I'm more of a cat person, even to this day. And I was like, that's okay. I'm good with that. I mean, I wanted to be his wife. I didn't care, And he said, you're going to change your mind one day. And I said, no, I'm not going to change my mind. I'm good with it. Okay. So we get married, and Dennis was usually right. At age 35, all of a sudden I was like, my parents are older. He's 16 years older. I need to have a baby, and it has to be a girl. No, I did want a girl, but anyhow, I started pitching it to him, and he was like, no, that wasn't part of the deal. I told you this was going to happen. And for 2 years, I had to work on him. And then finally, I went to Bill Whittle because, he and Bill Whittle were best friends. And I said, Bill, help me out here. I want to have a baby. And Bill said, I'll talk to him. The next thing you know, where he's on board, Bill knew how to close a deal, right? What I couldn't do, Bill did.
Bill's a closer. That's
Yeah, and then it's like, well, but how are we doing this? I have a vasectomy. Well, I had done research, and I found a doctor in New York who only did reversals. We went to the doctor. The doctor said, not a chance, 1 in a million, not happening. And to Dennis's credit, he said, there is a chance. And the guy said, yeah, 1 in a million. He goes, let's do it. And they did a 5-hour operation, because it's one thing to snip, it's another to attach. And is this getting a TMI for your audience now?
This is great. I don't know
how we went down this.
I am mesmerized right now. Yes, I'm mesmerized by your story.
And anyhow, make a long story short, we got pregnant the first time with twins, and I had a miscarriage after I announced it to the world, and I never thought it was going to happen again. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and got on my knees. We did in vitro. We tried it a second time, nothing happened. And the third time, Dennis said to me, okay, my alarm keeps going on. The third time he said to me, listen, I didn't sign up for this. I'm now 55 years old. You're pretty much crazy at this point. We're going to do this one more time, and then I'm done. And I said, okay, that was fair. And this is a crazy story. Not at all exaggerated for the purposes of making it a good story. This is exactly how it happened. So it was the day of my pregnancy test, and I knew that this was it. Either my life was going one way or the other today, right? And I was sitting in the courtroom, and the nurse who I made friends with, she said, at 4 o'clock, I'll call you and tell you if you're pregnant. Her name was Trish. She said, if you're not, I'll have one of the other nurses tell you, because I don't want to give you the bad news. I said, okay. So I'm sitting in the courtroom that day, and a woman walked in. Courtroom was empty. I was doing my work at my desk, who I'd never seen before. Older, heavy-set blonde lady. And I said, can I help you? And she said, I just want to observe a case, a courtroom case. And I said, well, we're not doing cases today. My judge is doing conferences. Go across the hall. They're doing a case over there. She said, okay. And I'm doing my work. I look up. She's just sitting there smiling, staring at me. I'm like, what the hell, lady? We're not doing a case, I said, lady, we're not doing anything today. She says, I just want to sit here if you don't mind. And to be honest, I'm not proud of this. I was rude. I tissed, rolled my eyes, picked up my crap, went in the bath, came back out. She was gone. Daniel, there was a business card on my desk that said, I have it at home. I should have brought it to show you. Expect a miracle.
Wow.
I went upstairs to my office at 4 o'clock, and the nurse called and said, you're pregnant. Oh, and it was in pink, by the way. And I never saw that woman before or after. I don't know who she was. I think she was an angel. How would you explain that?
That's just wild. That's absolutely
Isn't that
wild.
Crazy? I know.
Well, yeah, Savannah is amazing. What an
Every
amazing
baby is
daughter.
special, but she's pretty.
Yeah. We just did her podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, she is an incredible woman. But the one thing that I wanted, because we're going to talk a lot about a different thing. You ransacked the interview right now like never before. Like, I'm just blown away. I'm mesmerized. I love it. This was so insightful stuff that I've known you for a long, long time. 20 years I've known you, and I've never heard this story before.
That's because you've never asked me to come out and do my personal story. So
that is true, which we're going to change that very soon. But
okay.
Hey, look, all I know, Patti, is that, when you got into business, when you guys got in 1981, you guys were gangbusters, man. This thing just exploded. Tell me a little bit about those early years in business and how this thing exploded, and also how things are really different today versus the past.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's actually even hard to believe that we've survived, seriously. People say that this company has been, blessed by God and that God had his finger on it. That sounds corny to newcomers come in. I lived through those days. There is no doubt that is true. We had like a 1% chance of survival. So just to give you some background, when I met Dennis, he was in the traditional insurance business. He had an agency, a traditional insurance agency. So he sold home and auto, property casualty, and life insurance. And of course, 99% of what he sold was whole life, because even though he knew term was better, you couldn't make any money selling term. Nobody even knew what term was, right? No, clients didn't know. So you sold his whole life, and he didn't feel great about it, but he didn't really think too much about it. That was what he did, right? And he worked for a company called Kansas City Life. He was their number one agent. And just like Primerica, most other insurance companies have an annual convention where they get their top people together, right? So Kansas City Life had their annual convention in, guess where? Kansas City. And they would have like their top 20 people come in, and they'd go into a little conference room, and they'd talk about what's going on in the industry, any new products out, how you doing, blah, 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 pat each other on the back. They go down the bar, and that was their annual convention. Of course, no spouses were ever invited. It was just the guys, right? So he went to one in 70, he went every year. So he went 78, 79. One of the guys there starts complaining about this new upstart company down somewhere in Georgia, and it's replacing a lot of his business. It's actually like putting a dent in his business. And Dennis remembers thinking like, Jesus, I used to respect this guy. Like, what a dope, some new, no-name, dopey, company only selling term insurance is damaging his business. So he kind of discounted it, right? Comes back the next year, now 2 or 3 guys are complaining about this company. So he's like, okay, I got to find out what this is about. Comes home, picks up the phone. This is back in the day, right? He knew it was in Georgia somewhere. And A.L. Williams, he hears A.L. Williams in Georgia. They give him the number. He calls up. He goes, hello, can I talk to Al Williams? He didn't know it was Art, right? Al Williams. So he ends up getting on the phone with Art. And he tells Art who he is. I'm the number one producer for Kansas City Life. I heard about your company. I'm interested in joining. Now, just stop right there and ask your listeners. I want you to all ask yourself, if a guy called you today and said, I'm the number one agent in another so-and-so company selling X amount of business a year, and I'm interested in your company, how excited would you be?
Very.
How would you say, like, let me take you to dinner, let me get you for coffee, right? So this is where Dennis's head is at, right? He's thinking Art is going to like be doing somersaults for him, right? So he says to Art, listen, I want to come down and check you guys out. Why don't you send me a set of tickets and I'll fly down and I'll meet you? And Art goes, well, we don't do that. And Dennis said, what do you mean we don't do that? And he says, well, Dennis said, okay, well, how about I'll pick up the tickets, you get the hotel and the food. And Art said, Dennis, you sound like a stud. And I think you're very successful and you sound like a great guy, but you'll never make it in A.L. Williams. And Dennis says, why? What are you talking about? And he said, because you think, because you're, 40-some years old, you're established. Oh, and at the time, Dennis was making $250,000 a year, Daniel. Back in this is no BS. Back in 1981, he was making $250,000 a year. That's a lot of money now. That was a boatload of money right? So he says, I'll come there. Art says, I don't think you're going to make it because you're making all this money and you think you're going to come here and we're going to treat you special and give you an RVP contract right off the bat. And we're not going to do that. We don't do that. You want to come here, you can start from scratch like everybody else. And I don't think you're willing to muck it up with us. And Dennis said, if I come down, will you have lunch with me? And Art said, yes, I will meet with you. So Dennis flew down, meets with Art, comes back. Now, P.S. Stop there and let's go to me. I'm a 24-year-old court reporter. I don't know crap about insurance. I don't want to know anything about insurance. I'm glad. I'm all happy he's doing insurance and $250 a year, cha-ching. Hello, good for me, right? But what do I have to do with this? I don't want. So I didn't want to know. I just like, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. Kind of being a supportive partner, supporting my husband. We'll talk more about that.
Let me stop you real quick because a question just came in my mind. Why do you think Dennis? Because that's very odd for a guy making $250,000. Because even to this day, even in these days, right? I mean, 2019, 30, 40 years later or whatever. We're talking almost 40 years later, no guy making $250 is going to drop that and go somewhere
exactly.
Why did he go and have lunch with Art, do you think?
I think because Dennis was such a man of integrity and he knew that term insurance was better and he knew what a rip-off whole life was. And he thought, if I can make money doing this and really helping people, then this is what I want to do. And also build an organization. I mean, when he realized the concept that he would build his own company, I mean, he was still working for other people. He had his own agency. It's a whole different McGill, the way it's set up. And he saw the opportunity and saw that this could go on, and saw that one day, he was already in his 40s. He didn't want to work forever, go out on KTs every night of his life, right? So he saw the opportunity and the difference, and also that he would be doing something he felt good about, right? So he came back, and like I said, I didn't know anything was going on, and I opened the door and I said to him, "So what do you think?" And he said, this company is brand new and there's a lot of challenges down there. Why does my alarm keep coming off? How do I stop it? He said, I'll tell you one thing. He said, I looked in the guy's eyes, and this man is a man of destiny. He said, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not. And I swear to God, this sounds so corny. Who talks like this? He said these words, Daniel. He said, I'm going to hitch our wagon to his star. Okay. I was like, he actually said those words. So I said, okay. I had good. I support you. Go for it, honey. Rah, because I had no clue, right? So he cuts his ties with Kansas City Life, and nobody really knows Dennis. Daniel, did you know him? Did you ever have interaction with him?
I never really had interactions with him. The only thing, though, that's very interesting about Dennis is that I used to watch his videos. And so I learned about variable universal life, and believe it or not, that was his expertise. And believe it or not, to this day, on my website, on my original website, building-leaders.com, his videos are on my website. His videos have been on my website, Patti, for probably 15 years. As long as I've had the website, his videos were the first videos, because I wanted all my guys to understand really how devastatingly bad universal life was, variable universal life. Yeah, he could rip that thing to shreds like nobody else in the world. Seriously, that was his thing. He used to write letters to the presidents of all these whole life companies, right? And I'll pay for the arena. I'll pay. Come and challenge me, debate me. Nobody would ever debate him, because he would wipe the floor with us. He used to have agents like get up and cry. When he'd walk in the room, they would cry and gather their papers and leave, seriously. So anyhow, we got involved. So he started the company. I would say he cut ties with Kansas City Life. So for those of you who don't know Dennis, you understand he never did anything half-butted, right? He didn't just like, okay, I'm going to quit. He called up the president and told him exactly what he thought of him and why he was quitting. And so the point is, he burned his bridges. There was no going back, right? And also he realized that the office he was working out of was not conducive to opportunity meetings and all that. So he gets rid of his office. He goes, he buys a freestanding building, totally redoes it. Now, this is all money we're spending now. No money's coming in right now. He's done, right? And he finally is all set, ready to roll. And guess what he finds out that Art conveniently forgot to share with him? P.S. New Jersey A.L. Williams is not licensed yet in the state of New Jersey to do business. Get out of here. Get out of here. So think of this. Like all you people who think you're having challenges right now, hello. We couldn't even do anything. So now Prudential is domiciled, take a guess where? State of New Jersey, in the literal next town, like literally next door. They knew what a threat A.L. Williams was, right? So now they find out we've opened up. Do you think that Mr. Prudential, one of the most influential, strongest, most powerful companies in the world, you think they don't have the insurance commissioner a little in their back pocket, the police chief, the fire, right? So what do you think they did? Here we are trying to start a business, right? Then this is back when the company was brand new. There was no big legal department and all that. Yeah, we're spending our own money with our own lawyers trying to get the state of New Jersey to allow us to do business in this state, fighting that battle. In the meantime, so Dennis said, well, we can't sell anything, but what do we say? We sell and we recruit. Yeah, well, I can't sell anything. Let me recruit some people, right? I don't know how you recruit people into a company that nobody knows anything about, and the people who do know something about it only hear bad stuff about it, and they can't make any money. And you can't do business.
But it took 8 months to get A.L. Williams to do business in New Jersey, and in those 8 months, Daniel, he recruited over 300 people.
Oh my God!
So now we finally get ourselves licensed. Then we start having opportunity meetings. And now the police chief is showing up, the fire chief. Oh, you got too many cars in the parking lot. I mean, they hassled us. Building inspector came. Oh, there's a wire loose. He would close down our office. What they did to try and close us down. Like, that's why I say this company and us in particular, we were the first ones in the area. And that was the other thing. Art didn't know what to do with this hotshot Jewish guy from New York, kind of a suit, from New York. So he kind of just gave us to Bob Safford. That's right. How we got in the Safford hierarchy. Art didn't know what to do. So he just gave us to Bob Safford. But Bob, Dennis was already in the business. Bob didn't really have to train us or anything. So, right. Yeah, we just did our own thing, So now we find out there's a thing called a fast start school. We had never been to one, didn't even know there was such a thing, right? So Dennis calls me up. I'm at the courthouse. And he says, there's a thing called a fast start school. It's this big meeting. We're going to have it. And I found out there's a thing called a partner organization. And you're going to run it. So here's Angela Williams' number. Call her up and find out what to do. Bye. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. Click. I hang up. I don't even pay attention. A couple more weeks goes by. He goes, hey, did you call Angela Williams? We're having that. I go, no, I didn't get around to it. I'm like, yeah. Oh, you got to do it. The fast start's coming up. Okay, yeah, okay. I don't do it. I'll never forget. I walk in the house one night and he's standing there and he goes, did you call Angela Williams about the partnership thing? I said, no. He said, I want you to do this. This is important for our business. I said, Dennis, what don't you understand? I'm young. I'm 25, 26 years old. I don't know anything about insurance. You want me to stand up and like on a stage and speak to people? First of all, public speaking, are you out of your mind? And about insurance? What are you on drugs? I'm not doing that. Absolutely no. I'm not doing that. I'll never do it. And one more thing. No, I'm not doing it. And he looked at me, Daniel, with this look, and he said, it's okay, honey. I'll just get somebody else to help me build my business. And that's how I got involved in AOA.
The power of persuasion. The power of persuasion.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went and I got licensed. And can you tell Karma to text Savannah and tell her I'm on a podcast with you? Because she keeps messaging me. She's in Las Vegas.
I know.
Thank you. So
I'm gonna take a picture I'm gonna send it to her on Instagram so she'll know that I am on with her mother. Okay, there you go. So stop sending your mom shit like that. Okay, anyways, go ahead.
And that's how I got involved. So I went under under duress, and I got my insurance license. I got my securities license right away. But then what happened, I talked to Angela Williams, is I started to understand myself, what this was about and what we did and how whole life screwed people. I can't say it any other way. Well, I could. And how horrible and rotten it was. And then I realized, then all of a sudden it hit me. Art says this in almost every speech you ever listen to Art. He'll always say the number one thing you have to do in this business is become a crusader. And all of a sudden I realized what he meant by that. And then one day I woke up and I realized, okay, this wasn't about, do I want to get the watch? Yes. Do I want to get the ring? Yes. Do I want to make the $1 million? Of course. Do I want to get promoted? Of course. All those things. But that's not why I'm doing this anymore. I'm doing this because people are getting screwed by these people. This is outrageous how they're taking people's money and their future and their legacy with their family and they're hurting them. And then I got mad and then I got determined and then I became a crusader. And that's when I became a true partner. And now it wasn't like, oh, honey, I support you. Go do it. It was like, oh, honey, I'm getting down there on the field with you, head to head, helmet to helmet, and I'm going to do what I can do on a personal level to make sure that we're successful in this business. That's how I got involved in the company.
That is so awesome. I mean, 7 years. 7 years you were at $1 million in income. I mean, how much work was that? I mean, let's put things in perspective because look, I don't think people work like people used to work. I mean, at least I know that every generation I think is getting lazier and lazier and lazier.
I agree 100%.
How hard did you work, honestly? Like just
Dennis said to me in the beginning, okay, here's how it's going to be. He said, I'm going to put in 18-hour days. No BS. I'm serious, 18-hour days. He said, I'm leaving at 6 a.m. I'm coming home whenever. Don't annoy me, right? But he said, I'm doing this for us. He said, but I promise you, at the end of every 3 months, We'll take a trip. We'll go 3-4 days. We'll do something for ourselves, right? I believe in the power of 90 days. You can work your butt off for 90 days, 18 hours a day. You got to put in that sweat equity. You got to condense your time frame. Hey, Dennis was already in his 40s. Maybe that's the problem. These people come in and they're young and they just jerk around. Who wants to be a division leader for 3 years? That is ridiculous. But how many people do it? I don't understand. You have an RVP contract there ready to get to make everything better, to make all your percentages better, to grow your business, and you sit around being a division for 3-4 years. It's insanity to me. I want to slap people, right? But Dennis didn't have that luxury of taking the time. He's already in his 40s. He wanted to get this done. He knew what this thing could do for our family. So we condensed those time frames. Daniel, I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not doing this for the purpose of a speech or anything. When I tell you, we put in 18-hour days. I worked as a court reporter still. And that's another thing. The power of this company's partnership is you don't have to be a cookie cutter impression of the next partner. You get to do it your way because it's your business, right? So although I was 100% involved, I had my licenses. I had my securities license. I did trainings at our office every single night. I did every weekend. We were either doing a fast start, speaking at somebody's fast start, having a potluck, going to somebody's potluck, constantly doing stuff, right? I still worked as a court reporter, which is not some 9-to-4 job. I mean, you got to think about what a court reporter does. It's an intense job. You have to transcribe all this stuff. I still did that up until I got pregnant with Savannah. We were making over $1 million a year. I was still working as a court reporter, right? Because that's what worked for us. I didn't want to be in the office with him all day long. I didn't want to do KTs. I knew where my niche, what I found, what worked for us, and how I could build our business within the partner thing, and I was able to do that all at one time. When I look back, it's hard to believe I did it all, but the only thing I could think of is because when you are impassioned the way I was, when you want something that bad, I was driven. You get things done, right? So if people are being lazy and they're just jerking around with this opportunity, they just don't want it that bad. That's all I can say about it. I wanted it so bad. I put in those hours, and I remember putting a full day in at the courtroom, driving to the office, doing a training session at the office, figuring out the fast start school, who was the guest speaker, ordering the plaques. This is before computers. I'm talking about before computers.
Before cell phones.
Before cell phones. Hey, Dennis, we used to have to send crap in the mail. Dennis used to say he was going to invest in carrier pigeons because that would be more efficient than the U.S. Post Office, right? We're talking the challenges that nobody today even has. I say this all the time. If you did what we did back then, you could be where I'm at in 1/10 of the time. Because you didn't have to worry about it. You got a phone now, you press a button, your app goes, this goes, your RVA. It's insanity, the tools that we have now. But people have become inured to just like, we don't think every day when we throw the wash and the laundry of our great-grandparents down at the river on the stones, right? You get used to stuff. So,
do you think people though, Patti, do you think it's just like things are so much easier? Like people can make enough money now fairly easy. You don't have to recruit.
Easy.
Like they can make $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 a month and pay their bills every month and kind of be comfortable. It's like,
exactly.
Do you think that's a lot of it where you and Dennis, for some reason, and just same thing with us, for some reason, we just wanted to go to another level. Like we did not want to be average and ordinary like everybody else. We wanted to be different. We wanted to have financial freedom. And so we wanted to do it fast. We didn't want it to take forever to do it.
Exactly.
And so we were willing to give up. How important, Patti, is sacrifice when you're building something great?
Right. Well, people always say to me, it amazes me, how texts I get from people all over the country that I don't even know. People message me all the time. Give me some motivation. How can I build my business and still go to all my kids' football games? You can't.
Exactly.
You cannot. You got to pay a price. You have to make a price. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to miss some games. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to miss some family events. I'm sorry, but you're probably going to, I hate to say this, lose some friends and family along the way. I don't know why that dynamic is what it is, but it is. But that's something a price you have to pay. You have to decide if this thing is worth the sacrifice to you. If you're happy and content paying your bills and leading the mediocre life you're making, well, okay, not everybody's going to be a super SNSD like you and I have ended up becoming, because not everybody wants it as bad as we did. That's just human nature. But the thing about it is that the opportunity is here for those who want it. And this is the only place the majority of people like you and me, I don't know what your educational background is, but when I go to college, the majority of people like you and me have no other place that we could possibly make this much money in such a short period of time without putting out a big expenditure. We don't have to buy a McDonald's franchise or a Starbucks. We could come into this company and have the opportunity to, honest to God, flat out become multimillionaires within 10 years. What the heck? Why wouldn't you do that? What is your option? But people are, a lot of people are content with being mediocre. I always tell the story of my cousin, and I always change her name for the protection of the ignorant. And I make up a name for her, call her Mary. And this is back in the 80s. And, I was back in the recruiting mode, and I'm going to recruit everybody. So she's my first cousin. She's a smart girl. She was in her 20s. I thought this would be a great opportunity for her. So I call her up. Can I come over? I come over one day, and I start talking about the opportunity and how much money we're making and how much money we're saving and how much money the people who work for us are making and how much money our clients are saving. And I'm going on, and I just am passionate. This is me. This is the way I always am, right? And I'll never forget, she kind of pushed herself away from the table, and she got this disgusted look on her face. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, I am so turned off. I was like, why? What's the matter? She said, money, money, money. All you ever talk about is money. Don't you know there are more important things in life? And I was like, yeah, I do know that. Oh, I got so pissed off, right? I go, yeah, I do know there's more important things in life, Cousin Mary. For instance, you know what's more important to me? God. And you know what I love, Cousin Mary? I love when I go to church on Sunday and the pastor says we have to take a collection for our new van because our old van broke down and the van we use for Meals on Wheels, and we're going to take a collection. I love going to him after the service and saying, that collection you took, use it for something else. I'll buy the van. That's more important to me, Cousin Mary. And you know what else is more important to me? My mother and father. And you know what I love, Cousin Mary? I love that when my mother had full-blown Alzheimer's, I didn't have to put her in a nursing home. I didn't have to put her even in a really good nursing home. She got to stay in her own home with a full-time caretaker in the house that I built on my property, not in with me, so they had their own self-respect and dignity, in a house I built on my property, but I could walk across every day and make sure that lady was taking care of her. That's more important to me. And you know what else is more important to me? My daughter. And my daughter had the best education in the world. And my daughter has the freedom to travel the world and pursue her singing and songwriting career. And she doesn't have to worry about making ends meet while she's trying to do that. That's more important to me. And you know what else is more important to me? My personal charitable foundation, the Schecter Family Trust. People love to be altruistic and generous and make a donation, and so they drop, here's St. Jude, here's $100. You know what I love? I love that Dennis and I were able to fund that thing with $1 million in a security, so it's growing. And every year by law, I have to give 10% of that away, and I get to choose whatever, and I choose one charity, so I make a maximum impact in that one charity every single year. That's more important to me, Cousin Joan. I said her real name. Oh, crap. Cousin Mary. But here's a news flash for you. All of that takes money. I didn't write that rule. That's the way the world works. And you either get on board and learn how to use it to your advantage, or you could be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand, but the lion's going to come and bite you in the butt anyway. But just like Art Williams always says, as hard as you try, as much as you pour yourself into a person, they say no. You look them in the face and say, as mediocre as your life is going to be, as crappy as your job is, as shitty as your whole life policy is, it's perfect for you. Goodbye. And out the door I went. And I haven't talked to her in 30 years. I'm sorry I lost her as a cousin, as a relative, but guess what? My life is amazing. I got friends in my life who are my family. I'm an only child. I don't have family, but I have people, and Pro-American people, right? I mean people.
I'm your friend. I'm your friend, Patty.
Here we go.
I love you, Patty.
More than friends.
I'd follow you to the end of the earth, Patty. That was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. Man, I'm telling you, I think we can do this for like another 2 hours. But we're not going to do that. But we are. But I just have a couple extra questions to ask you. Because
I'll be sure.
Look. No. This was so incredible, Patty. I mean, I just hope that the people that are listening, because there are people that are in our business that are listening, and there are people that are not in our business listening. And I hope that the people that are not in our business, I hope that they see and they hear the passion and the realness and the authenticity that you're bringing out today, because this is real. This is not, fluff. This is not pie in the sky. This is not trying to just motivate people. This is a real
This is my life.
challenge. This is your life. But this is your life and the life of so many other people. This company has changed the course and direction for so many thousands and thousands of people. Yep. And it's just awesome to see the beginning and then to be able to see that end. And, I think you have your own plane, right? You like to travel a lot.
Yeah, we have a plane. We have our own plane.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tell me about the plane. How awesome is it? How awesome to have your own.
It's ridiculous. Well, just so everybody knows, so I got remarried last year to Dan.
Yes.
And, he's also financially independent. And so together we have our own plane and our own boat and our condo in Florida. And it's ridiculous, I mean, it's a 14-seat jet. It's a Falcon 2000. It's pretty amazing. And, you want to go someplace, you go to the Morristown Airport in New Jersey, where we have it, harbored or whatever you call it. And, you drive up in the limo. They drive you right onto the runway. Literally, you get out of the limo and you take 3 steps and you're up in the plane, and no security, no checkpoint, no nothing. You just get on the plane, you land, you get off, you get back in the limo, and off you go. It's insane. It really is insane. And more than that, more than the things, it's the experiences, and it's like the travel and being able to just wake up in the morning and not have to worry about a damn bill or a thing. Or what I worry about now is, am I being a good steward of the money? That's my big worry now. Am I doing the right thing with the money? I mean, I try and, like I said, I have this one charity that I really support, and of course other people and things in your life, but just to live a life that, not my father could not even imagine in a million years, and one generation later, not, over a period of like 100 years, like in one generation, I changed my family's projection forever. My daughter will never, and one thing I want to say to your people too, one thing that's so important is from day one, Dennis Schecter took one half. The minute a paycheck would come in, half got invested. To this day. So think of that. I've been in this business 39 years. So yeah, my income is impressive. My estate securities is way more impressive. What I make on my 2 million income a year is my play money.
Right.
My real money is my investment account. And I'm like, to think that a girl who didn't, I still don't understand it 100%. I'm not great with numbers. I'm the first person to say that, but I understand this concept, and I understand that if you work hard and try your best, you don't have to be great with numbers. You don't have to understand it 100%. Well, you have to understand that you're doing the right thing for people, and people will see your passion.
Well, it's interesting. I just was talking about that yesterday. Is so many people, they see you and Dennis. You saved. You played with the principal. I mean, you played with the interest versus playing with the principal. You know what I mean? It's exactly. Like you lived on the interest of the wealth, and that's why it compounded over all those years, and you were able to build true wealth. I mean, I joined the business at 21. By 28, I had $1 million saved. And so,
that's so awesome.
For me, I was just this morning, I got up this morning, I'm doing my Quicken account, and I'm, doing some of my finances and stuff like I do every week. I spend at least an hour every single week just making sure everything's, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Right.
And But every time there's leftover, every time there's excess, which is every time, there's always excess.
You invest
I invest it. I don't go and just spend that money that might.
I know. I see people who make half as much as I do, who I know they don't have, and they're buying Maybachs and Lamborghinis. I'm like, what the hell are you people doing?
Right.
9,000 Louis Vuitton purses every time. Don't buy that crap.
Right.
Don't buy that crap.
I just think people forget that financial independence and freedom is way better than the stuff. Like the freedom to get up every day and to do whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm doing this podcast, Patti, because I love people and I want to make a difference.
Exactly. Look, I'm traveling all over the country doing meetings all the time. I don't need to do any. I can disappear and nobody can ever see me for the rest of my life, and I'm still making over $2 million a year. Hello.
Right.
How about that? How about that Dennis Schecter has been dead for 17 years? I haven't had a base shop for over 17 years, and I'm still the 10th highest paid person in the company, the number one highest paid person, woman in Primerica. And he's gone 17 years, no base shop. I don't have to do anything. When he died, I disappeared for 10 years. My daughter was 8 years old. I said, I'm going to raise my daughter. And thank God, I'm telling you, when I think of like John Addison and Rick Williams, they sat me down after Dennis died and they said, this is your business. You do what you have to do. No pressure to stay, no pressure to do a base shop. That's what this is about. Not about buying a Louis Vuitton or a Lamborghini. It's about that kind of a freedom where I could back off, do what I had to do, and then come back in. You know, it's unbelievable. And then to get the Circle of Champions, that was one of the highlights of my life. It truly was. Because that for me was continuing Dennis's legacy. Because I worked with him, but this is about Dennis. Dennis did this. And to be able to stand up there and on his behalf as a couple to accept that was really an amazing event for me. So
that is so awesome. Hey, last question. What's one of your favorite books?
Shogun.
Favorite food?
Okay,
no, you can tell me. Go ahead.
Oh God, pizza.
Pizza. Okay. All right. You were going to say something about Shogun?
Italian girl from Patterson, New Jersey. What's the next question?
You were going to say something about Shogun, about the movie?
Or
the book?
I'm a person, so I'm probably a different person than most people that you interview or most people you talk to in Primerica. And I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying personally for me, I don't believe in motivational books. I don't believe in sitting down and reading a bunch of motivational books. I believe if you want to be motivated, pick up the phone and make some appointments. Make some cash. Watch how motivated that makes you instead of reading somebody else's idea on how to be motivated. Maybe
love
you can do those too, but pick up the phone.
I love it. I love it. Favorite. Do you have a favorite movie?
I do. Nobody probably ever heard Ben-Hur.
Okay.
With Charlton Heston.
Love it.
And then my second favorite movie is they're tied. Is Dr. Zhivago. You ever seen that?
I have never seen that.
See that? You got to go watch Dr. Zhivago and Ben-Hur. It'll change your life. Go ahead.
I'm going to go watch it.
And
Promise.
Godfather 1 and 2. Godfather 1 and 2.
Oh, of course, yeah. Godfathers, yes. Other ones, right. I'm going to knock them out and I'm going to tell you all about it. Hey, everybody, I just want to let you know to make sure that you follow Patti on well, first of all, this has been the most incredible podcast that I think I've done. This is number 55. This is incredible. Okay. This is going to be life-changing for so many people. Okay. Life-changing here. Okay. So I want everybody listening and watching right now, you better go follow Patti Schecter on Instagram, and you better make sure that you share this podcast. It's on iTunes, and you're probably listening on iTunes or Spotify, and make sure you do that. Hey, look, and then the last thing is make sure that you follow us on Instagram as well. I'm putting out stuff all the time, as you know, Patti. I'm putting out tons of content, tons of training, tons of ideas.
Awesome stuff. Awesome.
You know, I'm really trying to make a difference. We have our Wealth on the Beach Club that we do every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I actually do a podcast like this live for people all over the company, all over the United States, even people that are not in our company. And I'm teaching them about passive income and residual income and financial independence and health and living a better life, a great life, and being able to see the world and travel and experience all the things that maybe, we didn't get to do as kids and, as adults.
Wow. 1 week down the Jersey Shore once a year. That was our trip, right?
That's it. A different way to live, Patti. I can't thank you enough for your time today. We love you.
So welcome.
We thank you. I am up for an invitation on that plane anytime. Okay. I will ask my boss for a day off. Okay. I'm just kidding. I don't have a boss, but I will do whatever I need to do to be there if I ever get invited on the Patti plane. But hey, look, thank you again. God bless you. And I just want to let everybody know that we appreciate you listening today. God bless you. Dream bigger than ever and make sure that you do it now.